Hi everyone. I was trying to do a Facebook Live for you guys so we could have this, live interaction in real time, but the Wi-Fi here isn't great. So I'm trying to take this vacation. But but I feel just so inspired to share this and to connect with each of you. So here I am, not vacationing. It's all good. So I wanted to share my story of my initial spiritual awakening, partly because, some of you know it, some of you don't, but really to offer a connection, because I know that a lot of you go through this journey and you feel alone at times, and you don't have to. I put myself out there in a very public way, sharing a lot of, intimate things about my life, because I know that many of you are experiencing the same things, and I want you to know you're not alone. You're not ever alone in what you're experiencing, what you're doing. The nuances of your experience may be different than mine, but there's always a connection point. There's always a place where we can connect in our hearts to have a true, relationship, even if it's only energetic, even if I never meet you in person or, respond to your comments or whatever. I don't know. We're on this planet together. And so I wanted to share this story with you, just as a point of connection, and to have you see and feel, hopefully, that you're not alone in your spiritual journey. So it was 13 years ago, December 13th, 2004, and I was on the acupuncture table, and it was session number 6, and my acupuncturist stayed in the room with me, which was a little unusual. He would usually turn off the lights and leave the room and, let the process happen. But for whatever reason, he stayed in the room that day. And I had this flashback to 2 days before. I was in nutrition school, and my friend, who I had actually stayed with at a CFS clinic years before that, showed up. She was right there, and we gave each other a big hug and whatever, and she looked at me and she said, "Susie, you don't have CFS anymore." And I heard what she said, but my experience at the time was that I very much did. So I acknowledged what she said, and just kind of let it go. And then the next day I'm sitting in class in nutrition school, and we were going through this exercise where we had to write down what we wanted the next day, the next week, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. And, when you're in the chronic fatigue, you're not necessarily thinking about what you want to accomplish a week from now. You're just trying to get through the day. You're just trying to survive, and hopefully you can get everything done you need to that day, let alone a week from now. So I was very quickly getting overwhelmed, and there was a lot of resistance coming up within me, we'll say, because it was just very overwhelming to think, like, I don't know what I want to accomplish a week from now, let alone 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And so I broke down. I lost it. And I was kind of sitting towards the front. There was a room of like 1,000 people. And to the left of me, there was a ledge. And so I don't know what I was thinking. I probably wasn't really. I was in a state of overwhelm. But I climbed up on the ledge and I lay down. And one of the attendants came over, and, they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, clearly I wasn't. So they took me to a room in the back, and someone came and started doing Reiki with me. And I was a pediatric occupational therapist at the time. And I remember a couple things about that experience. I know I'm going a little rabbit hole, but I'll get back to the acupuncture session. She started giving me Reiki, and I was a Christian at the time, and I was always taught that Reiki was, of the devil, and Reiki was, satanic or evil or whatever. And I was kind of like, I'm not sure if this is okay, but there's something about it that was, and so I went with it. And then I also had this really clear knowing that I had to let go of my title as occupational therapist. And I didn't know what it meant at the time. I just knew on some level that whatever attachment I had to that title, that I needed to let it go. Okay, so that all happened the weekend before the Monday, December 13th, that I was in the acupuncture, on the acupuncture table. And I had flashed back from that weekend, and as soon as I landed on my friend's face and her telling me I don't have chronic fatigue syndrome anymore, all of a sudden I knew she was right. And it was like that knowing flipped this switch within my body, within my emotional field, within my brain, my nervous system, everything. I knew throughout my entire being that I was no longer sick. And it was truly one of those light bulb moments, one of those miraculous moments. And, since that moment, my life has never been the same. Now, what happened was, after that, I had 2 weeks where I was just totally in bliss. I thought life was finally going to be easy. Life was finally going to feel better, because I had sickness and all kinds of things since I was an infant. I'd never had an easy life. Not that we were poor, but, money was never easily accessible. It was always, you have to watch how much you spend, and, oh, you want that? Well, we don't have money for that, can't have that. So there was a lot of lack and a lot of, there was a lot of hardship in my life, if I'm being honest. Now, to give my parents credit, there was a lot of love, there was a lot of nurturing, there was all of that good stuff too. But when it came to my existence on this planet, it was never easy for me. I'm super sensitive, I'm an empath. I'm very driven and determined, but that sensitive part of me couldn't quite cope with being here on this planet, didn't quite know what to do with this, my environment, right? So I thought, oh, finally, I get to enjoy my life. It's going to be, fun and great and easy and whatever. Well, you know how the journey goes, you guys. There's ups and downs, and you go around and twists and turns and, all kinds of things. So it's been 13 years where I've been healing myself, where I've been digging deep, where I've been doing my inner work. And a lot of this time I've been sharing with you guys through video, through my newsletters, etc. What's the inner work that I've been doing and the realizations that I've been having and the healing and the transformation I've been experiencing. And if you would have known me then, I'm a very different person now. I had a lot of anxiety. I was wound up super tight, and I had to undo all of that, to find my inner peace, to find and remember who I am, still in process, to really, to work through the ick, the mud, the sludge, whatever you want to call it. I see a lot of spiritual teaching about, how do I want to say it, about how easy this journey can be. Putting yourself in a state of bliss or a state of joy. And I'm not saying that's not attainable, but because we live in polarity, to get to the bliss, to get to the joy, you also have to get through all the other stuff that's on the other side of the spectrum of that. And so that's what my journey of the past 13 years really has been. Being able to feel my emotions, being able to know who I am in that moment of awakening, and then work through all the stuff, shed the layers, peel off the stuff that's not me so that I can emerge in who I am. It's kind of a blessing and a curse, because very quickly after I had that awakening experience, I saw who I was, not as a human on this planet, but as the light, as the love. It's hard to describe, but I saw who I was, and I knew that I could become that. I knew that I could express that. And it was very frustrating many times along the journey, because I wasn't expressing that, and I wasn't feeling that, and I wasn't feeling necessarily even connected to that, but I knew that I was that. And it was very challenging to have the patience. Patience is not my favorite. To have the patience to go through the journey, to go through the muck and the ick and the sludge, the shadow, you might want to call it, right? To go through all of that. Now, I'm not saying I'm on the other side of all of that, but I have certainly transformed very, very deeply. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I feel comfortable in my vulnerability, sharing my experiences with you. That's why I started the Creation Temple, so that you don't have to feel alone in your journey, so that you can get the guidance and support that you deserve. I'm very blessed in my own journey. My original acupuncturist, I'm still in touch with to this day, and he's been my mentor for these 13 years. And I'm so grateful to have that level of support. And I know, because of who I am and why I came to this planet, that I needed to have that level of support, right? Because I'm very sensitive. I'm very, I feel everything. So to have someone who could kind of like keep me in check, keep me humble, that was really important for me. So ultimately, when you're in those tough places in the journey, I invite you to kind of sink into yourself and remember who you are. Remember the love that you are. Remember the light that you are. Ask for a remembering of why you came to this planet, what your soul mission is. And if you're not getting the answers, I can certainly help you with that. I have, channeling sessions that's what we do. We ask what your soul purpose is. So that help is certainly available for you. But ask these questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What is my soul signature? What is my soul purpose for being here? What is the mastery that I'm working on? What's in alignment for me? And to know that you can create your life according to what is aligned for you. A lot of people, when they're talking about manifesting, get the car, the house, the trip to wherever, and if your experience is that you're not able to manifest those things, maybe it's because they're not in alignment for you. And so to release all the things that you think you want and allow your soul to speak. What does your soul want? What's in alignment for your experience here on this planet from your soul's perspective? And that's where you find that true bliss, that true joy. There are lots of things that I thought I'd be doing by now in my life that I'm not, and that's okay, because I found something so much better. I found my soul desires, and I'm living that. And that is, that's priceless. I would much rather be living according to my soul's alignments than, satisfying my ego or something like that, So I invite you into that journey, the journey of the soul, and what your soul can tell you and how you can be elevated in your experience of the spiritual path. Because when you are operating from your soul, none of the other stuff matters. Sometimes I have some fun with manifesting, but if I'm really honest, I don't even care about that stuff. What I want, what brings me fulfillment, is living from my soul, living from my heart's desires. So I thank you for joining me in this video, and I really want for you what is best for you. What is best for you from your soul journey, from your soul's perspective, not what I might think you should do in your life, but what does your soul want to express through you? And what does that look like? And how does that feel to you? So I invite you into that inquiry, into that feeling of your soul, into that knowing of who you are at the soul level, because that's where it's at on this planet right now. That's where, when we can access our soul's desires and live and express those, everything changes on this planet. Can you imagine if everyone was doing that? And so that's why I'm so passionate about restoring Earth to her original condition as heaven, because it's totally possible. Absolutely possible. But it takes each one of us doing our inner work. It takes each one of us in that inquiry. So if you are feeling alone in that, if you're feeling like you can't quite figure out how to make that happen, I do invite you into either a one-on-one session or become a master creator in the Creation Temple, because we meet every week online. We get to connect, we get to see each other, you get the guidance and support you need, you get personal channeling, you get activations, DNA activations, heart activations, all kinds of things in this amazing space that I've created for you. So if you resonate with any of those things, go to creationtemple.com or susiebyler.com. And just a quick note, at the end of the year, or the beginning of 2018, prices on a lot of things, a lot of my services are going up. So if you have been kind of like waiting or feeling like you want a session but you haven't quite booked it, I would encourage you to do that now before the beginning of 2018, and you'll get the lower price. I love you guys. Thank you again for joining me in this video, and I will see you in the next one. Much love. Mwah.